The following teaching is possible thanks to the friends and partners of Spirit and Truth Fellowship International.
This was the western side of the city. This place right here called the Citadel was part of the palace. And remember, when Herod built a palace, it wasn't just a palace, it was also a fort. Right. That's one of the reasons the walls are so thick. This was part of the fortified palace of Herod the Great. So when you read about Herod the Great in Jerusalem, like when the wise men came to Jerusalem, the Magi, they came to Jerusalem, they came before Herod. Where would they come? They would have come right here. So if you could go back to the time of the birth of Christ, you could have met the Magi from the east who came to say, "Where is he who is born King of the Jews?" They would have come right here. This was Herod's palace in Jerusalem. When Herod, of course, died, then his son Archelaus started to reign, and he was Arche, the head louse. he was seriously an evil man, and the Romans deposed him very quickly. And then the Romans started with procurators, and there were a number of procurators. The one we're most familiar with is Pontius Pilate. Of course, from later in Acts, we're also familiar with Felix. We're also familiar with Festus. Okay, so all those guys would have had their headquarters right here, where the residence of the ruler was. And by the way, when I say headquarters, now you understand what was the Roman administrative center of Judea. It was Caesarea, but Jerusalem was very important. So when they would come here. But for most of the year, they would live in Caesarea. But this would be like their house in the mountains in Jerusalem. It would be very important at time of the feasts, for example, when this whole place was crowded with people, that they come here so that they could be here to maintain order. See, and that's the way that would work. So the wise men would come here to be with Herod. This is where when they took Christ. Now, there is a fortress called the Antonia that was built to guard the temple, and that's over by the temple. Traditionally, the Antonia is where the army stayed, and so it was the place traditionally where Christ was beaten. However, we know that Christ was given to the Praetorian Guard, who stay in the Praetorium, and this is the Praetorium. The residence of the royal governor or the residence of the Roman procurator was the Praetorium. So Christ was taken here to be tried by Pilate. So if you want to know what really, really super important thing happened here, besides the fact that the wise men came here, the Magi came here to see Christ, this is where Christ was put on trial. This is where Christ was beaten. This is where they brought Christ out and said, "Behold the man." This is the place. A site. It goes all the way back to the time of Jesus Christ. There is no question about it. Now, interestingly enough, and if you've read the stuff we have on the Mount of Olives, the Mount of Olives is where Christ was crucified. So the Via Dolorosa, the way of sorrows, Dolorosa is the sorrows, the Via way, the way of sorrows is from here through Jerusalem and up to the top of the Mount of Olives where Christ was crucified. The traditional place where they say Christ was crucified is now under the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Is it the real site? No, it's not. How was it founded? Queen Helena had a vision that's where it happened. So she started building a church there. What's the value of the Holy Sepulchre today? 1,700 years of millions of Christians that have literally bled and died to keep that in Christian hands. When the Arabs took over and the Crusades started, the king and the Pope did not rally the people by saying, "We don't like Arabs, let's go take their land." He rallied the people by saying, unbelievers, pagans, infidels are now in charge of the place where our Lord was crucified, where our Lord was buried, the grave site from which our Lord rose from the dead. The infidels have control of that. Can you stand for that? And the crowds would shout, no. And he'd say, are you ready to go over there and take it back? And they'd say, yes. And they'd all march across all of Europe to get that little site. So is it traditional? Yes. Is it important in Christian history? Absolutely. And millions of Christians have believed that's the place. So it's valuable from that standpoint because our brothers and sisters have loved Jesus Christ enough to go back there and get it. So is there value of going and seeing it? Yes. Is it dirty? Yes. It's dark and dirty and dingy, and some of the stuff that I see there, it blows me away because here's the Via Dolorosa. Now the Via Dolorosa has 14 stations. There are 14 stations of the cross. These are the 14 places between the Antonia Fortress where Christ was not beaten to the Holy Sepulchre Church where he was not crucified. And there are 14 places, one where he said to the women, don't weep for me, weep over Jerusalem, one where he fell down, one where somebody supposedly gave him a drink of water, yada, yada, yada. Now, the interesting thing is those 14 stations are right on the modern road. And the Via Dolorosa is going the other way on a road that we can't identify. So again, that is the most interesting thing to me, that very intelligent people that intellectually know that this isn't the way Christ took, somehow or other, are completely amazed. And as you walk down it, you may see people, hanging onto the stone. They'll be kissing the stone and hanging onto the stone, and sometimes you'll see them crying and that kind of thing. And I mean, because they really believe it. They believe that that's the real thing, like I believe this is the real thing. There's a time and a place to teach, and that's probably not it. It's a worshipful experience for them, and that's a valuable thing. And the fact that they would come to Jerusalem and it's just great. Same reason we're here. So this is a very powerful. I mean, the city of Jerusalem is just an amazing, powerful thing, and the fact that these stones were here from the time of Herod. Now, not everything we're going to see dates back to the time of Herod, because obviously, when the Romans came in, they just didn't leave it destroyed. What did they do?
Rebuild.
Yeah, they built onto the citadel. Also, they built onto the citadel. Then, of course, the Turks had to build onto the citadel. The Crusaders had to build onto the citadel. The Arabs had to build onto the citadel. So as we go around, one of the things you'll see this is from here, this is from here, this is from here, this is from here, this is from here. And so, you'll get a feel of the multiplicity of the time periods. There are really, really great exhibits. This is almost a self-guided tour. Because you go and it has different stuff. It's almost a self-guided tour, but if we can stick together a little bit, it really basically what it boils down to is this. The more interested you are in hearing me say something, stick close to me. If you feel like doing your own thing, it's literally true. For the rest of the day, you're on your own. And the shops are that way. Francis also wanted me to point out that going on right now in the Citadel is this awesome glass experience. And so there's glassware from this very famous glassware artist guy.
What is the representation?
Chileli? Okay.
He's Italian.
An Italian glass guy named Chileli. Thank you for remembering that. Excellent. So they do have wonderful exhibits here. They also have, by the way, and something I'm very interested in showing you as we move toward the very end of the tour, they have a model of the temple. Now we're going to see a better one, but it's a good start. So if we can just kind of head out this door. All right, just for people that want to know this now, if you were a Canaanite and you were coming to this area, except you had an airplane, this is what you'd see before it was developed. What you're looking at here is the topography of Jerusalem, and it's very well done. I wish I had one of these in my backyard to teach from. But now you'll notice one of the things about Jerusalem, and the Jews say this, is you can draw Jerusalem if you can draw the Hebrew letter Sheen, because here's your S right here. coming this way. See your sheen? Into your Hebrew letters. So here is what's known as the Western Mountain or Mount Zion. Here is the Eastern Mountain or Mount Moriah. So this is the which valley?
Hinnom.
Yes, this is the Hinnom, the valley of Hinnom right here. Then that makes this which valley?
Kidron.
Yes, that makes this the Kidron Valley, okay? And this right in the middle is called the Cheesemakers Valley or the Tyropian Valley. Historically, the Dung Gate goes out right here. Okay, now the Dung Gate is way up here because in the time of Christ, the city of Jerusalem came down. This little knoll right here is the city of David. Okay, so when David conquered the Jebusite city, it had a valley here, a valley here, a valley here. They only needed to bridge this with a wall. And then they said, nobody can get in here. David took the Jebusite city and lived there, and that was his headquarters. Solomon got the revelation to build the temple. God said, go up the hill from the city of David, build your temple up here. And so this is now what we know as Mount Moriah, where the temple is. And then Jerusalem expanded this way. So if this is Mount Moriah and this is Mount Zion, then this is what?
Mount of Olives.
The Mount of Olives, exactly. So for example, what we have in the time of Christ is over here, you'd have where we are right now, the western part of the city. This would be where the temple was. This is the Mount of Olives, where Christ was crucified. Christ was beaten right here where we are, taken across the city over to the Mount of Olives and crucified. Does that help a lot? Sure. Make it clear? And right now is a model of the city of Jerusalem that's right in front of you. This is the modern city of Jerusalem. And we are right here. And what's this called?
Citadel.
It's called the Citadel. Can I borrow your purple pen again? Thanks. I know you put it away, but maybe I need it after all. Let's. She's got this nifty purple pen.
It's yours, John.
Oh, okay. If this is a citadel, and again, did you see the newer rocks that you see, the smaller ones like you see here are modern or Turkish? Did you see the gigantic ones down at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, those go back to the time of Herod when Herod built this. So now what would this gate then be right on this side here?
Jaffa.
The Jaffa Gate, exactly. That makes this gate up here what?
Damascus.
That makes the Damascus Gate. Then the gate that comes out down here is called the
Dung Gate.
well, that's actually the Zion Gate, and the Dung Gate comes out down here. But you got the right idea. Here's Mount Zion. Now, this used to be something, apparently people broke it off, but this would be the house of Caiaphas. We'll go there. Right now they built a church over it called the Church of St. Peter of Gallicantu. Gallicantu means cock crowing, and that's where the cock would have crowed. That's a B site where we're 80% certain that that's the exact place where that happened. So now what you're doing is when you stand up on this wall and look over, you're here and you're looking east, and right beyond the temple area is the what? Mount of Olives. The gold dome that you see is technically called the Mosque of Omar, more popularly called the Dome of the Rock. Exactly. This mosque here with the silver dome, it's actually black now. They've stripped the silver off it. They're getting ready to refurbish it. It's now a black dome over a building that's El Aqsa Mosque. And El Aqsa is the furthest. And the El Aqsa is the furthest mosque from Mecca in which Mohammed supposedly prayed. Okay? Now, this I said is the modern wall. So, can you point to the city of David down there? See, it drops, yeah, it's right in there. See, it drops south out of the temple. So the city of David is out right there. Kind of in there, that area, exactly. If you just set that down where the city of David would be, perfect. There's your city of David. And then Solomon said, come up the hill to Mount Moriah and build the what? Temple. Now, the temple complex, as you see it, and if you look at your map at the time of Christ, and we'll see this again, people think of the temple like they think of a church. But there were different stages to the temple. There was the outer wall surrounding the whole complex, and we're talking 37 acres. That's how big we're talking. So that's how thousands and thousands and thousands of people could get in the temple, because it's so big. You see? So now, if I could borrow my pen back, just north of the temple, about here, the Romans built a fort that would allow them to control the crowds in the temple, and that fort was called the Antonia Fortress. Okay, so the traditional Via Dolorosa starts in the Antonia Fortress, goes through the roads, and now it goes to here. Okay, and this is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So at the time of Christ, the wall of the city of Jerusalem broke this way. This was your western part, and it came like this. So at the time of Christ, the wall of the city came this way, and so the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was outside the city. Okay, we know the Via Dolorosa, Christ would have been whipped and beaten here, where we are now in the Praetorium, and he would have gone this way and crucified over on the Mount of Olives. Okay, so if you get a picture of that, let's hop up on the walls and look over people's shoulders. It looks like I want you to see the Dome of the Rock. It's real easy to see. It's the gold dome way over there, the black dome, Al-Aqsa Mosque. Please look at the Mount of Olives right behind it. Get yourself oriented. It will make your study of Jerusalem so much better. It'll make things so much easier for you. Just thought I'd show this to you. This is another model of Jerusalem. That's one of the nice things about this particular spot, is they have all these models of Jerusalem to keep you going. Now this is Byzantine Jerusalem. Now look how the wall has changed, because now all of a sudden the wall is including the city of David. See the city of David here? And that was excluded from the city of David, the other Jerusalem. So now the city of David is included. Now this would be the pool of Siloam down in here. Okay? Then you go back up here. This would be Caiaphas' house in what we call the Church of St. Peter of Gallicantu. Come back up here. Which gate is this? That's going to be the Jaffa Gate. And notice here how the wall has encased the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And you have the main roads. Now this is going to follow the main Roman road, the Cardo. This is no longer in existence, this main road through here, except a little bit in the Jewish quarter. We'll see where they dug down to it and found it. Notice that in the Byzantine period, the temple for the most part was completely in ruins. No Dome of the Rock Mosque, no Al-Aqsa Mosque, just kind of ruins. Although the Byzantines did at some point set a church up there so they could pray and worship. So this is Byzantine Jerusalem. Okay.